Hey everybody, Christopher Green, AMTV, Alternative Media Television. The New World Order is here. The New World Order is here. Mission accomplished. This has been a draconian rollout. It does not matter what you think of COVID-19 or not, real or not, manufactured or not, organic or not, doesn't matter. It is being used as the guise and the excuse for more draconian legislation in this country and around the world, just like the Patriot Act post-September 11th, 9/11, and those tragic events. And we will never be going back to the freedom that we once enjoyed. You can expect thermal scans, temperature checks, mass surveillance, limits on travel, immunity passports, all kinds of new restrictions, and future taxes as a result of the bailouts. The PPP loans, which were just a continuation of Barack Obama's gross, egregious bailout of too-big-to-fail banks in Manhattan, has continued now bailing out and nationalizing every single major industry in the United States of America. Whether or not this is the airline stocks, it is insurance companies, or it's Fortune 500 companies receiving these same said loans. And this has been part of a manufactured, really perpetual rollout, death by 1,000 cuts, a totalitarian tiptoe over the last decade we've been warning about here on this channel. People think I'm kidding when I say this, but I'm not. There has been a methodical, there has been a algorithm that is rolled out and figured out how to decapitate the United States of America from within. Note that the United States, many historians, economists, intellectuals, anthropologists will tell you the United States could never be conquered by an outside force because we would defend ourselves. We have a constitution, we have rights, we have the Second Amendment, we have the First Amendment, we have all these things that we hold dear. And the only way to truly collapse a sovereign state like the United States is to do what they're currently doing. And that is create an invisible enemy and then turn the people against each other so they fight each other from within. And we've seen this with recent protests in the streets and racial divide and all these kinds of things. It's called divide and conquer. If you get the people focused on each other, fighting each other. In fact, this was the same type of propaganda rolled out during the collapse of the USSR. It was also critical that they collapsed Russia's sovereign currency during that period of history. And it's exactly what's happening in the United States today. So you need to be thinking more long-term. You need to be thinking more forward-looking. Get out. By the way, if you're okay with the new normal in America, you're a slave. You're a slave. You should not be okay with the new normal. You should not be okay with wearing a face mask. Governor Ducey in Arizona just rolled this out as well, mandating face masks in businesses and in public spaces in one of the most free states in the United States of America. Again, this is just like the Patriot Act, September 11, 2001, of which after that, you've got that claw and talon of tyranny on America's throats in perpetuity. It's the same thing with COVID. So again, don't even think about COVID anymore. Think about the rollout of all these draconian policies and where things are headed. So where are things headed? The death nail in the coffin of the United States of America will be our currency, just like this was the death nail of the USSR. And I'm not the only one saying this. I've been saying this for a very long time. Again, every major economist, everyone that I know on Wall Street, major politicians, people like Ron Paul, Peter Schiff, myself, we've been warning about Gerald Celente, have been warning about this Max Kaiser for years. There was an economist that came out just a couple days ago, said he's expecting a 35% collapse of the U.S. dollar in the coming year. Again, collapse the currency, turn the people against each other, usher in a new world order. Now, what caught many people by surprise, many of you have probably read this book multiple times like I have as well, Joel Skousen's Strategic Relocation, where he goes over various scenarios, war scenarios, nuke scenarios, famine scenarios. Didn't go over really too many pandemic scenarios, although it's in the book. The one thing a lot of us did not account for, and even caught me by surprise, was a global totalitarian lockdown everywhere in Asia, in Europe, and the United States and North America. New Zealand, Australia, the list goes on and on. So what's the bigger picture here? I was watching Midway with my father last night on Father's Day. It's a great film, by the way, you should watch. The same things that happened with Japan prior to the outbreak of World War II are happening right now with China. Economic embargoes, a fight over supply chains and supply lines, oil, other commodities, China recently just met here in Honolulu and was basically negotiating with the United States these various trade negotiations and deals that continue to fail. Rising east versus a declining west. Also, what you're seeing in the United States is a cultural-led propaganda Marxist communist revolution to push, divide, and conquer the United States from within. And again, it's going off without a hitch and has been very, very successful thus far. Now, we see Donald Trump trying to combat this. We see him fighting attack after attack, Russiagate, all these conspiracies, all these people turning in on him from his inner circle. Now, everything else that you're seeing in the news, it's been attack after attack after attack. Well, what can Trump really do? What can he do? The sad truth and the sad reality, things are worse in America today than they ever were under Obama. Blame Obama, blame Trump, blame Bush, blame any president. Really, that's just the right-left paradigm. The reality is things are worse. Masks are being mandated in Arizona and Texas, even the freedom states. We have less control over our medical bodily sovereignty than we ever have before. We have travel restrictions. You can't leave the country without temperature checks, and international travel has largely been shut down. You need to be thinking about what's going to happen next. It is very clear, abundantly clear, just like it was prior to Pearl Harbor, that we will be fighting a war with the East. We'll be fighting a war with China. China will be responsible for the new world reserve currency, a digital equivalent, renminbi, Chinese yuan, to take over the American petrodollar relationship. Geopolitically, notice what has China been doing? Taking more sovereign control over free, more capitalistic-like areas like Hong Kong. Ever since the rule by the British, it's enjoyed somewhat of independence and autonomy. No more. In fact, all the real money, all the smart money, all the businesses have fled Hong Kong, and they're now in Singapore. Other parts of Asia, other parts of the world. China also wants control over Taiwan. They've been allowed to dredge islands and remanufacture landing strips and their naval capacity and their air force and their space technology in recent years. The new war game and the new forefront of all of this has to do with satellites, has to do with hemp weapons in our sky, has to do with 5G communication satellites, has to do with Trump's Space Force, has to do with algorithms, machine learning, computers. These are the new war games of the 21st century. And so this is where we sit. Now again, the big picture is the dollar's going to collapse, and it's collapsing now. That'll be the death nail in the coffin, because once that goes, and it'll be a result of these new bailouts, right? All of this fake money and currency being printed from nothing through a fake fractional reserve system through a private Federal Reserve Bank will be the death nail in America. Once people lose faith in their currency and control over that, the only natural progression will be war, which is exactly where we are headed in the United States of America. Our enemies, China, North Korea. Notice, there's been no trade negotiation or peace deal with North Korea. They just came out today and said they would destroy the West once again. Iran, Russia. Go back to the 2020-2019 Economist magazine. You had the bear at the top of the world, the four horsemen of the apocalypse coming with Vladimir Putin from that region of the world. A tech dystopia of total control, surveillance, virtual reality, algorithms, controlling the narrative. Mainstream media that's been bought and paid for in this country that is more state-sponsored and controlled, arguably, than North Korea or China. Even saw CNN in recent days build a wall on the outskirts of their commercial corporate offices. Because walls work. And that's actually exactly what the Freedom Redoubt states in America should be doing now, not in the future, because this will happen. They need to close their borders. We have massive refugee movements coming from the blue states as a result of COVID. Again, it doesn't even matter what you think of COVID. They're going to use that, no matter what, as the reason for further indoctrination, the creation of a new normal, and a stripping and erosion of every single right that you once possessed in the United States of America. And most people are buying into it. They're buying into the racial division. They're buying into the divide and conquer. They're watching the media and hating themselves, thinking that they're racist because CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News says that they are. And they're fighting within a paradigm that doesn't even exist. Again, the only paradigm you should really be concerned about is that of a freedom paradigm. Your liberty in that paradigm. The Constitution. Your rights as a human being. Sovereign control over your body. Your small, your medium-sized business that they're shutting down because they deem it non-essential. That's the real story. And now the dollar collapse. And now a global conflict. Now a war with China. Who knows what ticks it off? Who knows the next move upon this chess game of algorithms that they've rolled out now, which will be the next crisis inflection point that will create that causation effect for what they need to sell the same American people that have accepted tyranny and a new normal in their home states. But we know this, most Americans will completely accept it, and they will lie down, just like they currently have. Unless redoubts are formed, unless borders are closed, unless we take control of our currency rights, unless we prep, unless we remain vigilant, and more importantly, unless we put all of our faith in Jesus Christ. Because He's the only thing that can save you tuning in. This world is dark. Men's hearts have been darkened, especially in this time. We see hearts of stone in the United States and worldwide. We see mass deception. We see people being deceived and lied to. And we see their freedom absolutely taken from them. We must pray for this country. We must pray for you tuning in. We must pray for the President of the United States to fend off these attacks of tyranny and reclaim and take control of this beautiful, sovereign, independent country that makes up the United States of America. You need to be thinking ahead. You need to be taking control of your food supply. You need defense. You need all of this critical infrastructure as a part of your own family's preparation. And then you need your salvation and our one true King, who is the only King I will kneel for. And that's Jesus Christ, who's coming soon, by the way, folks. He's coming soon to save all of us that believe and that have washed ourselves in His blood, repented, continue to place ourselves on our knees on a daily basis and pray for His forgiveness, and His acceptance, His unity, and His love as these enemies attack us. And we pray for His return. I'm Christopher Crane. I love you guys so much. Like and share this video. Get it out. This is The Truth. Alternative Media Television, hard-hitting and in your face. God bless.